What's up YouTube, welcome to your video. So this video is all about basic querying and everything you need to know about basic querying in SQL. After watching this video you won't have to watch another video for these basics. So connect to your SQL server and we will create a new query. So the first thing is how you comment on SQL server. So with this double minus you can use the single comment, and for the multi-line comment you have to use the forward slash and static. So this is a multi-line comment. So moving forward with SQL server, you have to create a database first. So use this create database keyword, and after that your database name. So my database name will be organization DB. This DB is for the purpose that I will remember that this is a database. So that's why I have put this DB, and after that I will write use and the same name of the database. You can see that here there is written master. That means that it is currently using the master database, which is the default database of your SQL server. But you need to make your own database and then use that database. So for that, highlight this and click execute or press F5. This will create the database. Now after its creation we can use the database. So highlight this and then press F5, which also executes your query. So we have created a database and we are also using it. So you can see that here organization DB is written. You can also manually choose the database from here. So we will go inside this database, and here is our organization DB. Now after the creation of the database we also need to create a table to store our data. So to create a table we use the same create keyword and then table and table name employee TBL. I'm writing TBL, so I will know that this is a table. So inside the parenthesis I need to write the column names. So the first column name will be employee ID. So I'm writing it as imp ID, and then I have to specify the data type. So int data type. Integer is the data type where you can store numbers. So ID will be in the form of number. Now I will put a comma and then I can specify another column. So another column name which will be employee name. So imp name, and then I'm gonna use varchar. So everything which is a text will be placed in varchar. Our name will be approximately 30 characters long. So I will put 30 here, and after that I can specify date of birth. So for that I will use date. So this is also a data type, and then salary will have the data type of integer. This query written here is perfectly fine, but imagine that we have multiple columns, so we will have to scroll all the way to see our one query. So to avoid this we write our query in multiple lines. So we write our query like this. So this is how you create a table. Execute. Inside this organization DB I have my table. Now we will be inserting some records into our table. So for that, insert into, then we write the table name. So employee table. After that we write a keyword values, and inside our values we write the same columns as we have given in our table. So first is the employee ID. I am giving it as 101. After that there is an employee name, so tech v. After that we have to specify a date, so let's say 30 June 1997 and some salary. So now I'm gonna execute all these. So there should be 5 rows added. So how can I see the table? The next thing we are learning is how to select the table. So to select a table, select star from and then the table name, which is the employee table. Now we will select the table. So execute, and this is our table. So the star here means all of the columns that are in the table. Now we will create a second table. Department TBL, department ID, and we are including, this time we are including the identity keyword. So what it does is it creates automatic IDs for us, and if I write like this, it will give the first department an ID of 1. Then whenever we insert another department, it will give it the ID of 2 and then 3. So it will auto assign the IDs to whatever records that we add. So I am specifying that start giving the department ID from 1000 and each time increment with 100. So now department name 30, and I am specifying that the department name should not be null, which means it should not be empty, and then number of employees, which is an integer and it can be empty. So imagine that we are opening a new department, so immediately it will not have employees. So number of employees can be null. So I am creating this table created, but you can see that there is no table over here. So sometimes we have to refresh this folder to get our tables. Same with the database. If your database does not appear here, refresh this database. So after creating the table, so insert into departments table, but this time I only want to insert the department name. So I will specify department name in this parenthesis, and then I will write the values keyword. I have to specify the name, so let's say engineering. This is how I can specify only the department name in my record. The ID will be auto generated with this identity keyword. So starting with 1000 and then incrementing each time with 100. So ID is gonna auto generate. I cannot specify the ID myself. However, I have specified the department name because I cannot leave it null or empty, but I can leave my number of employees empty. So same way, and I can also specify the number of employees if I want to. So in the research depart, I have number of employees 50. So I can also do this. Whatever 150. So now let me insert all these. So there are also multiple ways of selecting from the table. Select from departments table, and here I can specify the column's name. So department ID and let's say department name. So I only want these two columns to get selected. So if I press this, only these two columns appear, and you can see that the identity has created my IDs for me. So first is 1000, then incremented with 100, so 1100, 1200, and then 1300. This is also a way to select my table. And I can also do something like this. So select from departments table, and then department ID as department ID. So I can give it a name like this, a temporary name like this. This won't affect the table, but it will this name will show up here. The original name will not get affected. So this is just a way of giving a temporary name to the table column. And I have put these square brackets because if I don't put these square brackets, it does not accept the name with this space between it. So I have to put it under these square brackets, and I can specify other columns as well, which are department name as department name, let's say working employees. Now I can run this table, and you can see that I am getting my temporary name in this result. And you can also see that there is this null column because we haven't specified the number of employees in these two insert statements. We can also select star from employee table, but this time order by employee ID. So this is the last record in this table, as you can see over here. But it is showing it as the first record because I have specified that it should be ordered by employee ID. So I can also write ascending over here, but it is default, the order is default as ascending, so it won't make a difference. I can also do descending, and now the biggest ID comes first, then the lower ones. I can also say that select top 3 from employee table star. So this will select the top 3 record in our employee table, and you can see that there are multiple employees with the name of Codeverse. So I can say that select distinct employee I can say that select distinct employee name from the employee table. So this is the column name and this is the table name. Select distant employee name from this employees table. So I am putting this semicolon here. These are not necessary but highly recommended to put semicolon at the end of each statement, because in SQL we have these type of multiple line statements, so it is better to put semicolon at the end. So you can see that it is only giving me the distinct names. I can also say that select star from employee table, where this where keywords help us in giving a condition. So I'm giving the condition of where employee name is code words and then a semicolon. So it is showing me only the employees which have the uh, uh, name of code verse. Or we can also do something like this: the employees where salary is greater than 30,000. So now it is only showing me the records which have greater than 30,000 salary. Now we will look at multiple ways of updating the records in our table. So to update a table, we write the keyword update and then the table name. So the table name, then we use the set keyword, and after that we specify that which column do we want to change. So let's say I want to change the salary 80,000. If I run this, then all of the employees will get the 80,000 salary, which I don't want. I only want to update the salary of let's say Vas. So this guy, I only want to update the salary of this guy. So what I can do is I can specify the where clause. So now I can give some condition, which could be employee name equals to was. So I'm saying that update the employee table and set the salary to 80,000, but only for the rows where the employee name is was. But many employees can have the same name. So instead of the name, I can specify the ID. So employee ID is equals to 100. So wherever the employee ID is 100, update the salary to 80,000. Execute, and you will see that the VAS has now the salary of 80,000. We can also update multiple columns in one update statement. So now I'm gonna update the departments table and set the, by the way, this update statement is also written like this. It is much cleaner and easier to see. And now set the department's name. Let's say development depart. And we also want to increase the number of employees to not increase but change the number of employees to 15. Department name was previously the research. I should copy it from the above. So research. So now in this update statement, we are changing two things. First is the department name and second is the number of employees. So execute. And it has a number of employees 15. Now if I want to delete some record from the table, I can say delete departments table, where if I don't put a condition over here, it will delete all the records of the departments table. So I will put where the department ID is equals to, let's say, 1300. So I'm deleting the whatever record. Delete it, and then so the record is deleted. So I am only giving it one column, and I have created the table. Now if I try to create it again with, let's say, another column, I forgot one column, which is the name varchar 20, and e name varchar 20. Now when I try to execute it, it will say that there is already an object of t1. So we have created a table once, we cannot create the table again. So but I need to add this column to this table. So what I can do is, instead of creating the table, I can alter the table. So the table, we will write the table name and then add the column name, which was e name, then the data type varchar 20. So this is how we can alter the table. So the table is altered, and you can see that now this table has two columns. If we want to drop some column, so we don't want the information of ename anymore, we can also drop the column. So we write the column keyword and then the column name. We don't need to specify the data type. We can also drop the column name. So now after the refresh, I have only one column. So we can also drop the table or database. So to drop a table, just write drop table and then the table name. So when I execute this and refresh this table, refresh, the table is gone. We can also drop our database like this. Drop database, and for that, first let's create an empty database. So d1. So create the database, refresh. Here is the d1. Now drop the database. So the database is gone. I also want to show you some built-in functions of SQL Server. So the first one is select star from employee table. So by doing this, we will get all the records from the employee table. But what if we want to count how many records we have in the employee table? We can do this by writing the count function. So you can write star or any one of the column names here. So I can write salary here, any one of the columns, and then execute. So it is giving me 5 because I have 5 rows in my employees table. I also have the minimum function, which will provide me with the minimum salary, the maximum salary, the average salary, and the sum of all the salaries. So Let's execute all of these at once. So the number of column is 5, minimum salary is 20,000, maximum salary is 150,000, and the average salary is 64, and the sum of all the salaries. We can also specify the column here as number of employees, like this. So now it is giving a name. So these were some of the built-in functions of SQL. We also have the uh, print keyword to print something within the console. So hello world. It is for the purpose of checking anything. And we can also print the current date with the get date built-in function of SQL. So this is the current date. We can also do this with select statement. So select, and here is our current date. So this is all for the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel. See you next time.